Thank you, Lily. It almost helped. So appreciate everyone here in this room. We have a difficult time that we need to have together. And I like to say hello to those that are joining us on Zoom. But I invite you to come, imagine you're pulling your chair closer. We're going to all sit together really close. Many of us have already heard and have been offering prayers and comfort for each other during the second half of this past week. But I invite you to pull your hearts up close to the fire that we will light soon for a little tender telling. Sorry, this is a tough one. On Wednesday, April 5th, with the full moon still 2 hours from setting, our beloved Maddie Scully exhaled her beautiful, kind, vibrant spirit and died while sleeping at her sister Harriet's home in Upland. Her full life came full circle under a full moon. While her family carries their grief and they circle around their brother Michael during his cancer surgery this Wednesday, we hold them in our hearts as well and offer love and care. And when Michael recovers a bit, we'll begin planning to host a memorial service for Maddie here, nearer to her birthday in mid-June, in harmony and support of those who will prepare a memorial at San Bernardino Valley College, where Maddie taught for years, for her students and colleagues too numerous to count and too numerous to fit in our sanctuary. But our sanctuary, it was Maddie's spiritual home. And I thank you for welcoming her here. It's okay, Jimmy. Maddie knew that life isn't a straight line forward. Sometimes it's a geometrically perfect spiral, and sometimes it's just a tangled up mess. Always changing, circling back around, pushing us forward along the sharp edges and building upon our past. Growing, sometimes appearing to be moving backwards, but in fact always moving us farther toward the center of love, the sacred center of our oneness. So for today, we know we can hold this, and we will. We can sit together and accompany each other through hard things, because even though we know that positive change is coming, it's not here yet, but that's okay. I'm going to close with a poem, but Jimmy had something he wanted to say. Did you want me to just say it for you? What do you want to say? Jimmy wants to tell us that Maddie often told him to continue attending here and being with the congregation to help us grow. Yeah. And we're glad you're here. The poem is called Imagine, and it's written by Becky Hemsley. She writes, "Imagine if grief didn't work this way. If when one of our loved ones left, we didn't feel sadness, reached to our bones till we felt so completely bereft. Imagine if grief didn't hurt this way. if we all simply smiled and moved on, and if we didn't feel pain that went straight to our heart every time we were missing someone. Imagine if grief didn't sound this way. It didn't echo and scream everywhere. If we weren't overwhelmed when we tried to be still by the silence that rang in the air. Imagine if grief didn't act this way. It didn't creep and sneak up on our lives. If we didn't feel heartache so suddenly strong that it took all of our strength not to cry. But it's all unimaginable, really. Grief's supposed to turn life inside out, because life without grief means that we'd never know love, and that doesn't bear thinking about. So don't shy away from your sadness. Take time to tend to your heart, knowing full well that grief is supposed to be tough when you've had so much love from the start. Thank you.
Alan, can I ask you to come up and let's do the announcements.
Not sure I want to.
Yeah. I sure wish I was better with words at this very moment, but I'm not. I'm just a musician. As was Maddie. And I'll let you take over.
Welcome home. This is our home. Make the announcements brief. You see, I hope most of you found the absolute importance of reading the community connections that come out on Thursday. It's the best way we have of sharing what's going on in our beloved community. As a reminder, Taco Tuesday at 7 online, a chat room. Who knows what we'll talk about this coming Sunday or Tuesday. Next Sunday after the service, be the final gathering on discussions of merging, rewriting, however the principles and sources and merging them all together. Also, join Ari on the patio after today's service for a celebration, because we are celebrating the three Abrahamic religions are all celebrating this week with Passover, Ramadan, and the Western Church, Christian Church having Easter. Next week, the Eastern Church will celebrate. So anyway, thank you, and hope to see you on the patio and decorate a rock instead of an Easter egg. Oh. Okay, two things. Friday night, at doors open at 7. Our gathering starts at 7:30. Cups, we'll be doing a special peace circle. Bring a poem, saying, prayer, something to cast into the universe to bring peace to this world. And now, one last thing. Debbie Skirdo would like to come up and tell you about how we're going to end the pledge drive.
You want to hold those up there?
That's okay. No, I think I can.
Hello, good to see everybody. On behalf of the pledge team, I want to invite all of you, and of course those watching us today on Zoom, to come and attend our first potluck in 3 years. We're having it as a celebration of the end of the pledge drive, and it will be on April 30th after the service. The team is going to provide lasagna, for vegetable and meat lasagna, and we are asking you to bring a dish for 6 or 8 people to share. If you might remember, we started off everything this year with a pot of gold, and we're going to finish it with a potluck. Okay? We have lots of things still going on for the drive, and we're going to be also on the 7th of May, we're going to be auctioning off these cute little mascot guys. And there they are. So we've got Rocky and Lucky, and we're going to auction those off, so everyone who's made a pledge will have their name in the drawing for that raffle. So that will be fun. And we also are doing a special pop-up raffle today. Those have pledged, people that have pledged up till now will have their name in that drawing. And I think we should dedicate this to our sweet Maddie, because this has got a little Paddington in here, and look at his hat. So I think this is the Maddie Scully drawing, and it will be after service today, so be sure you stick around for that. And we hope that everybody can come to the potluck. I think it'll be a great time for our community. Thanks. My junk, sorry. You could just put that back on the chair.
Yeah. Okay. So, at this point in the service, we do our ingathering, the sounding of the bowl 3 times. Once, for those who came before, in a lot of ways, the original stewards of this land, our forebearers, the spiritual guidance from all sorts of traditions that have come before us. We sound the bowl once for those of us here and now, fortunate enough to get to hang out with us for the short time while we're all together. And those on Zoom who get to join virtually, which was a whole project that we're gonna complete, gonna get it done. Somebody needs to get up on a ladder. All right. And then once, for those who will come, those people who have not yet joined us, those people who will enter into our lives in all sorts of ways. Cool. You want to take it away, Lily? Not quite.
Jubilate, joy we bring, exultate, now we sing, Alleluia, Alleluia. Joy we bring, Alleluia. Sing Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia.
so great we get the choir. All right, and so I would like to ask Debbie to come on up. Debbie is sort of the glue of the whole operation here. So she does a whole lot, and she agreed to do this here. Thank you. So we light our chalice, right? I don't have any. Was I supposed to bring chalice lighting words? Was that the thing? No. Well, yeah. What I really love is the chalice is such a strong symbol in our community. It's that thing that goes all the way back to the very beginning when we went, oh, hey, I can cook stuff on fire. Cool. So, yeah. Awesome. So now at this point we speak our covenant together. Jerry, you want to put that up on the behind me? There we go. All right, so altogether, we affirm that love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve the world in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. You guys ready to do our favorite one? Why don't we rise? So now at this point, we've got Robert, who's going to come up and do our wisdom tale, A Time for All Ages. I feel like every week, Reverend Maggie's so good about form. This is Robert Tidwell, our Director of Religious Lifespan Exploration. What? Okay. Oh, yeah, probably. That's not right.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So today I'm going to be reading an excerpt from Easter by Jan Pienkowski. And the illustrations are by Jan, but the words come from, are adapted from the King James Bible. As they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Syrian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, and which bewailed and lamented him. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, they crucified him, and with two thieves, the one on his right hand and the other on his left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And it was the third hour. One of the thieves, which were crucified with him, railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God? For we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said to Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said to him, Today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved, he said to his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then saith he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. It was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all of the earth until the 9th hour. The sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. And now when the centurion and they that were with him saw the earthquake, they feared greatly, saying, Truly this was the Son of God. When the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who was also Jesus' disciple. He went boldly to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth with spices, myrrh, and aloes, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed. As it began to dawn, came Mary Magdalene, and found the stone rolled away. Then she runneth to Peter and to the other disciples, and saith, They have taken away the Lord. So they ran to the sepulchre, and saw and believed. Then the disciples went away to their home, but Mary stood at the sepulchre weeping. And as she wept, she saw 2 angels sitting where the body of Jesus had lain. And they say, Woman, why weepest thou? She saith, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And she turned, and she saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. Jesus saith, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, saith, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him. Jesus saith unto Mary, she turned and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples. That same evening, when the disciples were assembled, came Jesus and stood in the midst and saith, Peace be unto you. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. But Thomas, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said to him, We have seen the Lord. But he said to them, Except I see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, I will not believe. And after 8 days, again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my God. Jesus said to Thomas, Because thou hast seen, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen, and yet have believed. Go ye therefore, and teach all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. And with that, you guys can sing.
Now we sing our kid.
Yes. If Charis can get the song on the screen, you guys can sing us out to class. Riley, can you get the cellist?
I snag an order of service? I think I ever snagged one. Remind me to never lend him a lighter. Okay. I appreciate y'all. Where are we? Okay. So it's time we bring up my better third, my wife, our treasurer, and so now, Carissa, come on up. Happy day they lost the body. No, I'm getting that look. All right.
Stole my joke again.
I did steal your joke.
All right, good morning, everyone. Okay, so as of Thursday, we'd received pledges from 32 pledge units, consisting of 40 members and friends, and we were at $69,180. So yay! For the rest of you, we've only got 3 more weeks to get your pledge cards in for it to count towards next year's budget. For everyone that has turned in a pledge card or will turn one in today, hint, hint, we have Easter eggs on the back table with a special surprise in them for you. Yeah. Committees. You have had a month. If your budget forms are not submitted by April 30th, your budget next year will be in chocolate coins, assuming my 5-year-old does not beat you to them. And on that note, I will turn over the microphone to Terry McGuire to tell us why she pledges to MVUUC.
Here, Terry, I got a handheld for you.
Perfect.
My Unitarian Universalist journey, or roots actually, go back to the 1960s when I attended the newly formed Covina Unitarian Church with my parents. Harry Ragland was a member, and I don't remember if it was Harry or someone else that, when they got to know my parents, said they were Unitarian Universalists before they knew there was such a thing, or before the Unitarian Universalists actually formed the denomination that we know today. So I pledge for the people who are out there, who are UUs in sensibility and in spirit, and haven't found us yet. We need to be here for them. The first Sunday that I attended here, the choir sang a Broadway song. I don't remember which one it was, and they also sang Toccata and Fugue. And I thought, I have to be a part of this. Well, I was working at San Antonio Hospital, and when you work in a hospital, you work weekends a lot. Now, I had some Sundays off, but not every Sunday. However, I joined the choir, and I sang at the rehearsals, even though I couldn't always sing on Sunday. It was important to me that the thing that brought me here was the need for a community that valued inclusivity, that was welcoming, and that was an opportunity for learning. One prime example of that was Dick Olson's wonderful adult RE classes that I was sometimes privileged to attend. And I came to choir practices, even though I couldn't always sing on Sunday, and so I pledged. And now today we have Maribel, who is bringing a message of light through her beautiful stones and bringing us back to a time when rocks were not such happy thoughts for us. There was a time when rocks broke every window in our property. That, unfortunately, was followed by a few other major and minor calamities, resulting in us losing our insurance for a time and being unable to meet here. This before we had our wonderful technology of Zoom so that we could meet virtually. There were some rather creative ways of meeting during that time, and I pledged, because it was important to me that this community continue and recover and thrive and grow. So when we ring the bowl each Sunday for those who were our origins and our foundation, and for those of us here and now who twist the nuts and bolts to keep our community and our physical place alive, and for those who will come to sustain it, that is why I pledge. William B. Sinkford, who is a past president of the UUA, writes that Unitarian Universalism is less a finished product and more an invitation to a shared journey. Recent events in our community have brought that to the forefront even more so. I ask you to join all of us together and let's pledge to the journey. Thank you.
See, that's what I'm talking about. She's good with words. That was beautiful. There's a lot to be said about giving, and I don't know that I could improve on that at all. So, at this point, I would like to ask that we dig deep, and we got our basket here at the front, and Lily's going to play for us, and let's see. We do have a roof to put on this thing and some pipes to replace, and there's a reason that rug is right there. We got to replace some flooring too. So there's a lot to be done around here, and it's really important that we all kick in for that. Thanks. need to go practice. That was beautiful. So at this point, we've got our joys and concerns, joys and sorrows. Do we have it? Did anybody leave no cards up front? Did anybody have anything they feel like they need to share? Is anybody on the Zoom? Is there anything on chat? Wow. So, go ahead. Here, let me.
No, I don't need a mic.
Okay.
I use my outdoor voice. No, you do.
Here.
Good morning.
I have a friend, Allison, who is in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
She lost her roof in the tornado. So for all of the people in Little Rock and my friend Allison, they're safe, lost a lot of trees, lost a lot of damage, but she's alive and well.
Thank you. I've been processing. I got the news Wednesday at T-ball. We were at T-ball. I was coming out of that, and I got news. So, we'd like to take a moment and, because Maddie meant so much to so many of us. So. And then I feel like a jerk for having joys to share. But as many of you know, our roof, we didn't lose it in a tornado, but the storms had caused some severe leaking, and they found mold, and my living room's all tore up right now. But they got the roof replaced. They got my solar panels back on. Now we're just waiting on some fixes that theoretically are coming this week. I'm really, really excited to get my living room back. And I started a new job on Monday, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah. Yeah, it was really a Good Friday, saying no thank you to that deal anymore. And, you know, there's a lot of joys and sorrows that we don't necessarily share. And I would like to take a moment and hold some space for those as well. Still nothing on chat, right? I know sometimes people get a little hung up on the outside of that. And then Reverend Maggie, before service, she had a great idea. We should light this candle over here for Maddie. Cool. I appreciate y'all. Everybody's all dressed up today. This is great. It's very Easter. I see a lot of color. And so we have in the Christian tradition, I think this is the big one, right? So it's even in our hymnal, right? So here we are. So it's number 205 if you've got your great hymnal here with you. Because the lyrics are a little different in our book. So let's do Amazing Grace. I like that. I happen to be way into Jesus and all that, but not everybody in this room is, and that's cool. That's awesome. So one of the things when I was first asked to do this, my biggest concern was how do I make this as inclusive to people who don't share my perspective? And I was digging through my personal library of craziness, and I came across a Walt Whitman poem. And Walt Whitman, for any of you guys who are unfamiliar, has a deep, we as UUs have a deep tie to Walt Whitman and that whole transcendentalist movement. So Walt Whitman wrote this poem, "To him that was crucified. My spirit to yours, dear brother. Do not mind, because many sounding your name do not understand you. I do not sound your name, but I understand you. I specify you with joy, O my comrade, to salute you, and to salute those who are with you before and since, and to those who come also. That we will all labor together, transmitting the same charge and succession, with few equals, indifferent of lands, indifferent of times. We, enclosers of all continents, all castes, allowers of all theologies, compassionators, perceivers, rapport of men. We walk silent among disputes and assertions, but reject not the disputes nor anything that is asserted. We hear the bawling and din, and we'd reach at by divisions, jealousies, recriminations on every side. They close peremptorily upon us to surround us, my comrade. Yet we walk unheld, free, the whole earth over, journeying up and down till we make our ineffaceable mark upon time and the diverse eras. Till we salute time and eras, that the men and women of races, ages to come, may prove brethren and lovers as we are." That one really jumped out at me. So then also I found in our teal hymnal here, if you turn to 1036, it's a fun little ditty. And if you were hanging out earlier during my drumming outburst, you got an idea what's to come. You got it? Yeah, let's get up, come on. We're gonna move around. Six times. Close enough for jazz. So, I have this really deep-seated belief that once a year, on Easter, which is the high holiday in the Christian faith, we should hear from the man himself. There's no sermon I could write that would come even close. So I wanted to bring you Sermon on the Mount, but in a modern translation, which was done right around 2000. It's called The Message, and where we sort of were reminded in our children's tale that Old English from the King James it's pretty removed from how we talk to each other today. So if you really start lawyering the language about that, it really, so I like to look at a lot of different translations. This one jumps out at me. So this is what Jesus told everybody on the Mount. This is what he said. You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and his rule. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are, no more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. You're blessed when you've worked up a good appetite for God. He's food and drink in the best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you find yourselves cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and your heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. You're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they are uncomfortable. You can be glad when that happens. Give a cheer even. For they don't like it, I do. And all heaven applauds and know that you are in good company. My prophets and witnesses have always gotten into this kind of trouble. Now let me tell you why you're here. You're here to be the salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage. Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. Now don't suppose for a minute that I have come to demolish the scriptures, either God's law or the prophets. I'm not here to demolish, but to complete. I'm going to put it all together in a vast panorama. God's law is more real and lasting than the stars in the sky and the ground at your feet. Long after stars burn out and earth wears out, God's law will be alive and working. Trivialize even the smallest item in God's law, and you will only trivialize yourself. But take it seriously, show the way for others, and you will find honor in the kingdom. Unless you do far better than the Pharisees in the matters of right living, you won't know the first thing about entering the kingdom. You're familiar with the command by the ancients, do not murder. I'm telling you that anyone who is so much as angry with a brother or sister is guilty of murder. Carelessly call a brother idiot, you might just find yourself hauled into court. Thoughtlessly yell stupid at a sister, and you are on the brink of hellfire. The simple moral fact is that words kill. This is how I want you to conduct yourselves in these matters. If you enter your place of worship and about to make an offering, you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you, abandon your offering. Leave immediately. Go to this friend and make things right. Then and only then, come back and work things out with God. Or say you're out on the street and an old enemy accosts you. Don't lose a minute. Make things right with him. Make the first move. After all, you leave the first move to him, knowing his track record, he'll likely end up in court, maybe even jail. If that happens, you won't get out without a stiff fine. Now you know the next commandment pretty well too. Don't go to bed with another person's spouse. But don't think you've preserved your virtue simply by staying out of bed. Your heart can be corrupted by lust even quicker than your body. those ogling looks you think nobody notices, they're also corrupt. Let's not pretend this is easier than it really is. If you want to lead a morally pure life, here's what you have to do. You have to blind your right eye the moment you catch it in a lustful leer. You have to choose to live one-eyed or else be dumped on a moral trash pile. And you have to chop off your right hand the moment you notice it raised threateningly. Better a bloody stump than your entire being discarded for good in the dump. Remember the scripture that says, whoever divorces his wife, let him do it legally, giving her divorce papers and her legal rights? Too many of you are using that as cover for selfishness and whim, pretending to be righteous just because you are legal. Please, no more pretending. If you divorce your wife, you're responsible for making her an adulteress, unless she's already done that by her promiscuity. And if you marry such a divorced adulteress, you're automatically an adulterer yourself. You can't use legal cover to mask a moral failure. And don't say anything you don't mean. This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. You'll only make things worse when you lay down a smokescreen of pious talk saying, I'll pray for you, and never doing it, or saying, God be with you, and not meaning it. You don't make your words true by embellishing them with religious lace. In making your speech sound more religious, it becomes less true. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate words to get your own way, you go wrong. Here's another old saying that deserves a second look. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Is that going to get us anywhere? Here's what I propose. Don't hit back at all. If someone strikes you, stand there and take it. If someone drags you into court and sues you for the shirt off your back, gift wrap your best coat and make a present of it. And if someone takes unfair advantage of you, use the occasion to practice the servant life. No more tit-for-tat stuff. Live generously. You're familiar with the old law, love your friend, and its unwritten companion, hate your enemy. I'm challenging that. I'm telling you to love your enemies. Let them bring out the best in you, not the worst. When someone gives you a hard time, respond with the supple moves of prayer, for then you are working out of your true selves, your God-created selves. This is what God does. He gives his best, the sun to warm, the rain to nourish, to everyone regardless. The good and the bad, the nice and the nasty. If all you do is love the lovable, do you expect a bonus? Anybody can do that. If you simply say hello to those who greet you, do you expect a medal? Any run-of-the-mill sinner does that. In a word, what I'm saying is grow up. Your kingdom subjects now live like it. Go live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously towards you the way God lives towards you. Be especially careful when trying to be good, so that you don't make a performance out of it. It might be good theater, but God who made you will not be applauding. When you do something for someone else, don't call attention to yourself. You've seen them in action, I'm sure. Play actors, I call them, treating prayer meeting and street corner alike as a stage. Acting compassionate as long as someone is watching, playing to the crowds. They get applause, true, but that's all they get. When you help someone out, don't think about how it looks. Just do it, quietly and unobtrusively. That is the way your God, who conceived you in love, working behind the scenes, helps you out. And when you come before God, don't turn that into a theatrical production either. All these people make a regular show out of their prayers, hoping for 15 minutes of fame. Do you think God sits in a box seat? Here's what I want you to do. Find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play before God. Just sit there as simply and honestly as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God, and you will begin to sense his grace. The world is full of so-called prayer warriors who are prayer ignorant. They're full of formulas and programs and advice, peddling techniques for getting what you want from God. Don't fall for that nonsense. This is your Father you are dealing with, and he knows better than you what you need. With a God like this loving you, you can pray very simply like this. Our Father in heaven, reveal who you are. Set the world right. Do what's best as above, so below. Keep us alive with 3 square meals. Keep us forgiven with you and forgiving others. Keep us safe from ourselves and the devil. You're in charge. You can do anything you want. You're ablaze in beauty. Yes, yes, yes. In prayer, there's a connection between what God does and what you do. You can't get forgiveness from God, for instance, without also forgiving others. If you refuse to do your part, you cut yourself off from God's part. When you practice some appetite-denying discipline to better concentrate on God, don't make a production out of it. It might turn you into a small-time celebrity, but it won't make you a saint. If you go into training inwardly, act normal outwardly. Shampoo and comb your hair, brush your teeth, wash your face. God doesn't require attention-getting devices. He won't overlook what you are doing. He'll reward you well. And don't hoard treasure down here, where it gets eaten by moths, corroded by rust, or worse, stolen by thieves. Stockpile treasure in heaven, where it's safe from moth and rust and burglars. It's obvious, isn't it? The place where your treasure is the place where you will most want to be and end up being. Your eyes are windows into your body. If you open your eyes wide in wonder and belief, your body fills up with light. If you live squinty-eyed in greed and distrust, your body is a musty cellar. If you pull the blinds on your window, what a dark life you will have. You can't worship 2 gods at once. Loving one God, you'll end up hating the other. Adoration of one feeds contempt for the other. You can't worship God and money both. If you decide for God, living a life of God worship, it follows that you don't fuss about what's on the table at mealtimes, or whether the clothes in your closet are in fashion. There is far more important to your life than the food you put in your stomach, more to your outer appearance than the clothes you hang on your body. Look at the birds. Free and unfettered, not tied down to a job description, careless in the care of God. And you count far more to him than birds. Has anyone, by fussing in front of the mirror, ever gotten taller by so much as an inch? No. All this time and money wasted on fashion, do you think that makes that much a difference? Instead of looking at the fashions, walk out into the fields and look at the wildflowers. They never primp or shop, but have you ever seen color and design quite like it? The 10 best-dressed men and women in the country look shabby alongside them. If God gives such attention to the appearance of wildflowers, most of which are never even seen, don't you think he'll attend to you? Take pride in you, do his best for you? What I'm trying to do here is get you to relax. Not be so preoccupied with getting so that you can respond to God's giving. People who don't know God and the way he works fuss over these things, but you both know God and how he works. Steep in your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now, and don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. And don't pick on people, jump on their failures, criticize their faults, unless, of course, you want the same treatment. That critical spirit has a way of boomeranging. It's easy to see a smudge on your neighbor's face and be oblivious to the ugly sneer on your own. Do you have the nerve to say, let me wash your face for you when your own face is distorted by contempt? It's this whole traveling roadshow mentality all over again, playing a holier-than-thou part instead of just living your part. Wipe that ugly sneer off your own face, and you might be fit to offer a washcloth to your neighbor. And don't be flip with the sacred. Banter and silliness give no honor to God. Don't reduce holy mysteries to slogans. In trying to be relevant, you're only being cute and inviting sacrilege. Don't bargain with God, be direct. Ask for what you need. This isn't a cat and mouse hide and seek game we're in. If your child asks for bread, do you trick him with sawdust? No. If he asks for fish, do you scare him with a live snake on his plate? No. As bad as you are, you wouldn't think of such a thing. You're at least decent to your own children, so don't you think the God who conceived you in love will be even better? Here is a simple rule of thumb guide for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you. Then grab the initiative and do it for them. Add up God's law and the prophets, and this is what you get. Do unto others, right? Don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for a successful life that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff. Even though crowds of people do, the way to life to God is vigorous and requires total attention. Be wary of false preachers who smile a lot, dripping with practiced sincerity. Chances are they are out to rip you off in some way. Don't be impressed with charisma. Look for character. Who preachers are is the main thing, not what they say. A genuine leader will never exploit your emotions or your pocketbook. These diseased trees with their bad apples are going to be chopped down and burned. Knowing the correct password, saying "Master, Master," for instance, isn't going to get you anywhere with me. What is required is serious obedience, doing what my Father wills. I can see it now at the final judgment. Thousands strutting up to me and saying, "Master, we preached the message. We bashed the demons. Our super spiritual projects had everyone talking." And you know what I'm going to say? You missed the boat. All you did was use me to make yourselves important. You don't impress me one bit. You're out of here. These words I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life, homeowner improvements to your standard of living. They are foundational words. Words to build a life on. If you work these words into your own life, you are like a smart carpenter who built this house on solid rock. Rain poured down, the river flooded, a tornado hit, but nothing moved that house. It was fixed to the rock. But if you use my words in Bible studies and don't work them into your life, you're like a stupid carpenter who built his house on the sandy beach. When a storm rolled in, the waves came up, it collapsed like a house of cards. When Jesus concluded this address, the crowd burst into applause. They'd never heard teaching like this. A couple weeks later, he was killed for that. How dare you say such things? So thank you for having an open mind and hearing the man out here on this Easter. I'm doing the best I can. Losing Maddie's voice was really we're going to have to keep working on the choir here. You guys are going to start seeing me on Thursdays, I suspect. All right. It is now time we extinguish the chalice. I know we're running a little late on time, so let's come on over here. This is the message of our faith. To act with faith in the face of injustice. To love with courage in the midst of life's challenges. To live with the light of our chalice flame. May it empower our hearts until we are together again. Thank you, y'all.